1. We've got a real treat for you. A 1964 Lincoln Continental that's sure to turn heads wherever it goes. This classic beauty is currently up for sale on Craigslist for just $12,000, and let me tell you, it's a deal you don't want to miss. Now I know what you might be thinking. Is this car really in good condition like the seller says? Well, I've taken a close look at the ad and the details provided, and I can tell you that this Lincoln Continental seems to be the real deal. Under the hood, you'll find a powerful 430 big block engine that's paired with a smooth shifting automatic transmission. The seller mentions that the car runs and drives great, which is always a good sign. And if you're worried about the odometer reading, don't be. The seller is upfront about the fact that it's broken, so you know exactly what you're getting into. One of the coolest features of this Lincoln Continental is the air ride suspension in the front, which gives it a smooth and comfortable ride. The rear has also been dropped by 4 inches, giving it a sleek and stylish look. And if that's not enough, the seller even has more bags available if you want to customize the ride height even further. The exterior of the car has been recently repainted, and it's a stunning shade of gray that's sure to turn heads. The seller also mentions that they have everything that was taken off the car and nothing has been cut or hacked up, which is a testament to the care and attention that's been put into this classic ride. Now, the seller does mention that this isn't a show car, but let's be real. With those new 20 tires and the unique convertible hardtop setup, this Lincoln Continental is definitely a head-turner. And at just $12,000, it's a steal compared to other classic cars on the market. The seller is also open to trades and trades plus cash, so if you've got something to offer, don't be shy. They've got pics of everything that's been done to the car, so you can see for yourself the level of care and attention that's gone into this beauty. Overall, if you're in the market for a classic car that's sure to turn heads and make a statement, this 1964 Lincoln Continental is definitely worth checking out. With its powerful engine, smooth ride, and stunning good looks, it's a car that's sure to bring a smile to your face every time you get behind the wheel. So what are you waiting for? Head on over to Craigslist and check out this amazing deal before someone else snaps it up. 2. We've got a real gem for you. A 1959 Lincoln Continental Mark IV two-door coupe that's sure to make your heart skip a beat. This beauty is currently up for sale on Craigslist for just $14,500. And let me tell you, it's a deal that's hard to beat. First off, let's talk about the condition of this classic ride. The seller mentions that it's a super solid car, which is always a good sign. It's all original, with just one older repaint, so you know it's got that authentic vintage look and feel. And with just 82,000 miles on the odometer, this Lincoln Continental has plenty of life left in it. Under the hood, you'll find a powerful 430 MEL engine that's paired with an automatic transmission, making it a breeze to drive. And with power brakes, power steering, and air conditioning, this car has all the modern conveniences you could want in a classic ride. But that's not all. This Lincoln Continental also comes loaded with features that were cutting edge back in 1959. You've got a town country radio, a foot signal seek radio, power windows, power locks, power antennae, a power back window, and even a power trunk release. It's like stepping back in time and experiencing the height of luxury from the golden age of American cars. The seller also mentions that they've made some recent upgrades to the car, including new tires, brakes, including the master cylinder, shoes, cylinders, and lines, and new shocks. And if you're worried about the air conditioning, don't be. The seller says it works too. They've also rebuilt the radiator and exhaust, so you know this car has been well maintained. Now I know that $14,500 might seem like a lot of money for a classic car, but hear me out. This 1959 Lincoln Continental Mark IV is a rare find, and it's in fantastic condition. With its all-original features, low mileage, and recent upgrades, it's a car that's sure to turn heads and make you the envy of every classic car enthusiast in town. Plus, the seller seems like a stand-up guy. They've provided plenty of details about the car's condition and recent upgrades, so you know exactly what you're getting. And with a clean title and a price that's fair for a car of this caliber, you can feel confident that you're making a smart investment. 3. We've got a real treat for you. A 1985 Buick Century that's been lovingly cared for by its elderly owner. This classic sedan is currently up for sale on Craigslist for just $2,500. And let me tell you, it's a deal that's hard to beat. First off, let's talk about the condition of this Buick Century. The seller mentions that it's in good condition, and based on the details provided in the ad, I'm inclined to believe them. With just 29,900 original miles on the odometer, this car has been gently used and well maintained throughout its life. Under the hood, you'll find a reliable 4-cylinder engine that's paired with an automatic transmission, making it a breeze to drive. And with recent upgrades like new brakes, a new battery, and new tires, you can feel confident that this car is ready to hit the road. Now, the seller does mention that the exhaust is a little loud, but that's a minor issue that can be easily fixed if it bothers you. And while there is some very light surface rust, the seller is upfront about it and notes that the car is still very solid overall. One of the things that really stands out to me about this Buick Century is its low mileage. With just 29,900 original miles, this car has been driven an average of less than 1,000 miles per year since it was new. That's a testament to the care and attention that its elderly owner has given it over the years. And speaking of the owner, you can tell that this car has been loved and cherished. The fact that it's being sold by an elderly owner suggests that it's been well maintained and treated with respect throughout its life. And with a clean title and a price that's more than fair for a car in this condition, you can feel good about making this Buick Century your own. Now, I know that a 1985 Buick Century might not be the flashiest or most exciting car out there, but hear me out. This car has a charm and character that's hard to find in newer vehicles. It's a piece of automotive history that's been preserved and cared for, and it's a car that's sure to turn heads and start conversations wherever you go. 4. We've got a real beauty for you. A 1969 Mercury Cougar XR7 convertible that's sure to make your heart skip a beat. This stunning ride is currently up for sale at a used car dealership, and it can be yours for just $13,900 plus tax, title, and applicable fees. First off, let's talk about the condition of this Mercury Cougar. The seller describes it as being in good condition, and based on the details provided in the ad, I have no reason to doubt them. With a classic green exterior, a brown interior, and a black top, this car has a timeless look that's sure to turn heads wherever you go. Under the hood, you'll find a powerful 8-cylinder engine that's paired with an automatic transmission, making it a breeze to drive. And with power steering and power brakes, this car has all the modern conveniences you could want in a classic ride. Now, the seller does mention that the miles are exempt on the title, which means that the actual mileage of the car is unknown. However, given the overall condition of the car and the fact that it's being sold by a reputable used car dealer, I wouldn't let that deter you from considering this beauty. One of the things that really stands out to me about this Mercury Cougar is its rarity. The XR7 model was the top-of-the-line version of the Cougar, and the convertible version is even more sought after by collectors. With its classic styling, powerful engine, and open-air driving experience, this car is the epitome of 1960s cool. And at just $13,900 plus fees, this Mercury Cougar is a steal compared to other classic convertibles on the market. Sure, it's not a cheap car by any means, but when you consider the rarity and condition of this vehicle, it's a price that's more than fair. Of course, as with any used car purchase, it's always a good idea to have the vehicle inspected by a trusted mechanic before making a final decision. But if everything checks out, I have no doubt that this 1969 Mercury Cougar XR7 convertible would make an excellent addition to any classic car collection. So if you're in the market for a vintage ride that's sure to impress, this Mercury Cougar is definitely worth checking out. Give the dealership a call today and schedule a time to see this beauty in person. 5. We've got a real classic for you, a 1981 Pontiac Firebird that's sure to get your engine revving. This iconic muscle car is currently up for sale on Craigslist for just $4,900, and while it may need a little TLC, it's got a lot of potential for the right buyer. First off, let's talk about the condition of this Firebird. The seller describes it as being in fair condition, which means it's not perfect, but it's not a complete basket case either. The car has been engine swapped to a cammed Pontiac 400, which is a serious upgrade from the original engine. It's also got an automatic transmission, power windows, and power brakes, so it's got some modern conveniences as well. Now, the seller does mention that the car needs some work, including paint and other TLC. The odometer has also rolled over, so the actual mileage of the car is unknown. But here's the thing. With a car like this, the mileage isn't always the most important factor. What matters is the overall condition of the car and the potential it has for restoration or customization. And when it comes to potential, this Firebird has it in spades. With its classic red paint job, Trans Am wheels, and powerful engine, this car has all the makings of a serious head-turner. Imagine cruising down the highway in this baby, with the wind in your hair and the roar of the engine in your ears. It's the kind of experience that every car enthusiast dreams of. Of course, as with any used car purchase, it's always a good idea to have the vehicle inspected by a trusted mechanic before making a final decision. And given the fact that this Firebird needs some work, it's especially important to go into the purchase with your eyes wide open. But if you're willing to put in the time and effort to bring this car back to its former glory, the rewards could be huge. One thing to keep in mind is that the seller is open to reasonable offers. So if you're serious about this car, it's worth reaching out and seeing if you can negotiate a better price. Just be sure to do your homework first and have a clear idea of what the car is worth and what it will cost to get it into the condition you want. At the end of the day, this 1981 Pontiac Firebird is a car that's not for everyone. It's a project car that will require some blood, sweat, and tears to get it where it needs to be. But for the right person, someone who loves classic muscle cars and isn't afraid of a little hard work, this car could be an absolute dream come true. 6. We've got a real gem for you. A 1966 Plymouth Fury 2 that's been tucked away in a carport since 2001. This big block beauty is currently up for sale on Craigslist for just $1,300. And while it may need a little TLC, it's a rare find that's sure to get any Mopar fan's heart racing. First off, let's talk about the condition of this Fury. The seller describes it as being in good original condition, with original interior upholstery and carpet. The engine turns over by hand, and the electrical system powers up with a jump, so all the lights and even the radio work. That's pretty impressive for a car that's been off the road for over 20 years. Now, the seller does mention some issues with the car, but they're upfront about them. There's a dent in the front right corner, and both the right front door and left rear door dogleg have some rust. The interior is also all original, but a mouse did chew a hole in the rear seat. However, given the overall condition of the car and the fact that it's a rare find, these issues are relatively minor. One thing that really stands out about this Fury is the mileage. The odometer reads just 28,000 miles, but the seller believes it's actually 128,000 based on the overall condition and wear of the car. They even attached a picture of the brake pedal wear to back up their claim. Regardless of the actual mileage, it's clear that this car has been well maintained and cared for throughout its life. Under the hood, you'll find a powerful 383 big block engine that's paired with an automatic transmission. This combination was a popular choice for Mopar enthusiasts back in the day, and it's sure to provide plenty of power and performance even today. And with a clean and clear title in hand, you can feel confident that you're getting a legitimate piece of automotive history. Of course, as with any classic car purchase, it's always a good idea to inspect the vehicle in person before making a final decision. And given the fact that this Fury has been in storage for so long, it's especially important to give it a thorough once-over to make sure there aren't any hidden issues. But if everything checks out, this car could be an absolute steal at just $2,300. 7. We've got a real treat for you. A 1973 Chevrolet Nova project car that's been lovingly built and customized by its owner. This beast of a machine is currently up for sale on Craigslist for $12,000, and let me tell you, it's a deal that's hard to beat. First off, let's talk about the heart of this Nova, a 350 cubic inch small block Chevy engine with trick flow heads and all forged internals. The seller even has a folder with all the details from the engine builder, so you know exactly what you're getting under the hood. And with a 4-speed manual Saginaw transmission and a rare 70s vertical gate shifter, this car is built for performance. But that's not all. This Nova has been outfitted with a host of other upgrades and modifications that make it truly one of a kind. The body has been treated to new front fenders and a new hatch, as well as a fresh coat of black paint that looks absolutely stunning. The suspension has been upgraded with a front disc brake conversion and 2 drop spindles, as well as new rear springs with additional arching and air shocks to give it the perfect stance. Inside, the interior has been completely gutted and treated with POR 15 and sound deadening, as well as new carpet and a headliner. The seats have been replaced with a bench seat out of an El Camino, and the car has been outfitted with front electric door locks, new wiring for speakers, and a classic auto-air AC system. The gauges have been upgraded with a new tach, oil pressure and temp gauges, and the car even has a high-pressure in-tank fuel pump to run port fuel injection. Other upgrades include LED marker lights, new lock cylinders in the column, doors and hatch, long tube headers with glass pack mufflers, and a set of mag wheels out of an 80s Corvette. And if that wasn't enough, the car even has nitrous plumbed and a bottle installed, ready for some serious performance. Now, the seller does mention that the paint has sat neglected and will need a fresh clear coat or vinyl wrap, but given the overall condition and upgrades of the car, that's a relatively minor issue. And with a clean title in the seller's name, you can feel confident that you're getting a legitimate project car that's ready for its next owner. 8. We've got a real diamond in the rough for you, a 1976 Chevrolet Camaro in a stunning shade of burgundy. This vintage beauty is currently up for sale on Craigslist for just $4,500, and while it may need some work, it's got a ton of potential for the right buyer. First off, let's talk about the condition of this Camaro. The seller is upfront about the fact that it's been sitting for many years, and there is some rust present at the rear lower corner panels. However, they also mention that the car does run, which is a huge plus for any project car. Under the hood, you'll find a newer engine that's been installed, which is great news for anyone looking to get this car back on the road. However, the seller does note that the engine needs to be modified for smog, and at this point, the car is being sold for off-road use only. Now, I know that the idea of taking on a project car can be daunting, but hear me out. This Camaro has all the makings of a classic beauty that's just waiting to be restored to its former glory. With its timeless burgundy paint job and iconic Camaro styling, this car is sure to turn heads and start conversations wherever you go. Of course, as with any project car, it's important to go into the purchase with your eyes wide open. The rust and the need for engine modifications are definitely things to keep in mind, and it's always a good idea to have a trusted mechanic take a look at the car before making a final decision. But if you're someone who appreciates vintage charm and is willing to put in the work to bring this Camaro back to life, then this car could be an absolute steal at just $4,500. Imagine the satisfaction of cruising down the highway in a classic American muscle car that you've restored with your own two hands. It's the kind of experience that money can't buy. One thing to keep in mind is that the seller is asking potential buyers to reply with a phone number, as they won't be responding to messages simply asking if the car is still available. This is a common tactic used by sellers to weed out tire kickers and ensure that they're only dealing with serious buyers. At the end of the day, this 1976 Chevrolet Camaro is a car that's not for everyone. It's a project that will require time, effort, and a bit of elbow grease to get it where it needs to be. But for the right person, someone who loves classic cars and isn't afraid of a challenge, this car could be an absolute dream come true. 9. We're taking a closer look at a classic beauty, a 1962 Ford Galaxie 500 that's currently up for grabs on Craigslist. This particular model is the 500XL variant, which means it's packed with a powerful 390 cubic inch, 300 horsepower engine under the hood. That's some serious muscle. Now let's talk about the condition of this vintage ride. According to the seller, the restoration was completed about a decade ago, and it shows. The custom paint job with those sleek ghost flames still looks pretty good, although there are a few flaws here and there. But hey, that's to be expected with a car that's been around for over half a century. The seller mentions that the Galaxy falls into the good category on Haggerty's valuation tool, which puts its value at a cool $22,600. That's a pretty penny, but considering the work that's gone into this classic, it might just be worth it. Under the hood, the engine fires up, runs, and purrs like a kitten. Well, maybe more like a lion, given the power it's packing. The interior is also in very good shape, with no unsightly holes or rips in the upholstery. The only downside is that the original radio isn't working, but the previous owner was kind enough to mount a newer one under the dash. Problem solved. As a bonus, the lucky buyer will also get their hands on an additional Holley carburetor and 4 original wheels. That's like the cherry on top of this classic sundae. Now, I know what you might be thinking. The odometer has rolled over, so who knows how many miles this baby has actually covered. But let's be real. When you're cruising down the highway in a vintage masterpiece like this, does it really matter? In summary, this 1962 Ford Galaxy 500 XL is a true gem. With its powerful engine, custom paint job, and well-maintained interior, it's sure to turn heads wherever it goes. And at $10,750, it's a steal compared to its estimated value. If you're in the market for a classic ride with some serious character, this might just be the one for you. 10. We're diving into the world of classic luxury with this 1974 Lincoln Continental Mark IV that's currently available on Craigslist. This beauty is being offered at a firm price of $6,000, and let me tell you, it might just be worth every penny. First off, can we talk about the fact that this Continental is being sold by its original owner? That's right. This car has had just one person behind the wheel since it rolled off the production line. And with only 99,000 actual miles on the odometer, this classic has plenty of life left in it. Under the hood, you'll find a beefy 460 cubic inch V8 engine with a 4-barrel carburetor paired with an automatic transmission. The seller claims that the car runs and drives great, which is exactly what you want to hear when you're dealing with a vehicle that's nearly half a century old. Now, let's talk about the features. This Lincoln is loaded with power windows, power locks, power steering, and even air conditioning. That's right, you can cruise in comfort even on the hottest of days. And speaking of cruising, this car is smog exempt, thanks to its pre-1975 status, so you can hit the road without worrying about emissions tests. The seller describes the condition of the car as excellent, and from the pictures it's hard to argue. The interior looks clean and well-maintained, and the exterior appears to be in great shape, with only minor cosmetic issues that are to be expected with a car of this age. Plus, with those collector plates, this Continental is sure to turn heads wherever it goes. Now, I know what you might be thinking. $6,000 is a lot of money for a car that's almost 50 years old. But hear me out. This Lincoln Continental Mark IV is a piece of automotive history, a testament to the craftsmanship and luxury of a bygone era. And with its original owner history, low mileage, and excellent condition, it's a rare find indeed. So, if you're in the market for a classic car that's sure to impress, this 1974 Lincoln Continental Mark IV might just be the one for you. But you'd better act fast. With a price like that, it's sure to be snapped up quickly by some lucky buyer. 11. We're taking a closer look at a 1980 Chevrolet Corvette that's up for grabs on Craigslist. This particular Vette is sporting a custom paint job and newly upholstered seats, which is always a plus in my book. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, the engine. The seller mentions that the previous owner decided to swap out the original motor for a high-performance 327 cubic inch V8. While some purists might balk at the idea of a non-original engine, there's no denying that the 327 is a seriously potent power plant. And hey, if you're looking for a Corvette that can really move, this might just be the one for you. But fear not, originality fans. The seller also mentions that they have the original motor, so if you're looking to restore this Vette to its factory specs, you've got that option as well. Now, let's talk about the condition of this classic sports car. The seller describes it as being in really good shape, and from the pictures, it's hard to argue. The custom paint job looks slick and shiny, and the newly upholstered seats are a nice touch. With only 54,000 original miles on the odometer, this Corvette has plenty of life left in it. Of course, as with any classic car, there are bound to be a few issues here and there. The seller doesn't mention any specific problems, but it's always a good idea to give any potential purchase a thorough inspection before handing over your hard-earned cash. Speaking of cash, the seller is asking $13,000 for this 1980 Corvette, or best offer. That's not exactly chump change, but considering the custom paint, new upholstery, and low mileage, it might just be a fair price for a classic American sports car. So, if you're in the market for a Corvette that's got a bit of a wild side, thanks to that high-performance 327, this 1980 model might just be the one for you. And even if you're more of a stickler for originality, the fact that the original motor is included is a definite bonus. As always, be sure to do your due diligence before making any big purchases. But if this Corvette checks all your boxes, it might just be time to make some room in your garage. 12. We're diving into the world of classic muscle with this 1974 Dodge Charger that's currently up for grabs on Craigslist. And let me tell you, this one is a real gem. First off, can we talk about how original this Charger is? The seller mentions that it's super original, which is music to the ears of any classic car enthusiast. And with only 37,374 miles on the odometer, this baby has plenty of life left in it. Now, let's talk about the condition of this classic muscle car. The seller notes that they removed the vinyl top material to check the condition of the roof, and while there are some pinholes, overall it's in great shape. It just needs to be recovered, which is a small price to pay for a car of this caliber. Inside, the headliner is tight and original, with no stains to speak of. That's a testament to the care and attention that's been given to this Charger over the years. Under the hood, you'll find a numbers-matching 8118 V8 engine, which is the heart and soul of any classic Mopar. And with a new BrakeMaster cylinder, you can rest assured that this Charger will stop just as well as it goes. But perhaps the best part about this 1974 Dodge Charger is that it's a daily driver. That's right, you can actually enjoy this classic muscle car on the road, turning heads and breaking necks wherever you go. And with current registration, you won't have to worry about any pesky paperwork or red tape. Now, I know what you might be thinking. $14,500 is a lot of money for a car that's almost 50 years old. But hear me out. This Charger is a piece of automotive history, a testament to the raw power and style of the muscle car era. And with its original condition, low mileage, and numbers-matching engine, it's a rare find indeed. So, if you're in the market for a classic Mopar that you can actually enjoy on the road, this 1974 Dodge Charger might just be the one for you. But you'd better act fast. With a car like this, it's sure to be snapped up quickly by some lucky buyer. 13. We've got a real treat for you. A 1983 Ford Mustang GT convertible that's currently available on Craigslist. And let me tell you, this one is special. First off, can we talk about how rare this Mustang is? According to the seller, this is one of only 9 GT convertibles sold in Canada. That's right, 9. In the entire country. So if you're looking for a Mustang that's sure to stand out from the crowd, this might just be the one for you. But rarity isn't the only thing this Mustang has going for it. The seller describes the condition as excellent, and from the pictures, it's hard to argue. The black paint looks deep and glossy, and the interior appears to be in great shape as well. Under the hood, you'll find a powerful 8-cylinder engine, which is exactly what you want in a classic Mustang. And with only 14,800 miles on the odometer, this car has plenty of life left in it. But perhaps the best part about this Mustang is that it comes with all the original goodies. The seller mentions that it comes with the original radio, tires, and rims, which is a real bonus for any collector. Plus, it's part of the Mustang Club, which means you'll be joining a community of passionate enthusiasts who love these cars just as much as you do. Now, I know what you might be thinking. $14,000 is a lot of money for a car that's almost 40 years old. But hear me out. This Mustang is a piece of automotive history, a testament to the style and performance of the Fox body era. And with its rare status, excellent condition, and original accessories, It's a car that's sure to appreciate in value over time. Of course, as with any classic car, there are bound to be a few issues here and there. The seller doesn't mention any specific problems, but it's always a good idea to give any potential purchase a thorough inspection before handing over your hard-earned cash. But if this Mustang checks all your boxes, it might just be time to make some room in your garage. And with those collectible plates, you'll be able to show it off at car shows and events with pride. So if you're in the market for a rare and beautiful Mustang that's sure to turn heads wherever it goes, this 1983 GT convertible might just be the one for you. 14. We're taking a closer look at a 1971 Pontiac Le Mans Sport that's currently up for grabs on Craigslist. And let me tell you, this one is a real diamond in the rough. First off, let's address the elephant in the room. This car is 53 years old. As the seller mentions, it's not going to be perfect. There's some interior work and paint that needs to be done, but the bones of this car are solid. The frame is in good shape, and all the lights and wipers are working as they should. But what really sets this Le Mans apart is all the work that's been done under the hood. The seller has gone through and replaced a ton of parts, including the water pump, spark plugs, distributor cables, fuel pump, gas tank, timing chain, and more. They've even upgraded the intake manifold and carburetor to Edelbrock units, which is a real plus for any performance enthusiast. And let's not forget about the new tires on the back, the new radiator and hoses, and the fresh differential oil. This car may not be a trailer queen, but it's clear that the seller has put in the work to make it a reliable driver. Now, I know what you might be thinking. $8,600 is a lot of money for a car that still needs some work. But hear me out. This Le Mans has a clean title, which is a big deal for any classic car. And with all the upgrades and replacements that have been done, you're getting a car that's ready to hit the road and be enjoyed. Plus, the seller is open to trades. If you've got another classic car or even a newer RV that catches their eye, they might just be willing to make a deal. Of course, as with any classic car, there are bound to be a few issues here and there. The seller is upfront about the fact that this car isn't perfect, and that's something to keep in mind if you're considering making an offer. But if you're looking for a classic Pontiac that's got a ton of potential and has already had a lot of work done to it, this 1971 Le Mans Sport might just be the one for you. It's a car that you can continue to fix up and enjoy driving, and with a little bit of elbow grease, it could be a real showstopper. 15. We've got a real treat for you. A 1951 Studebaker Champion bullet-nose two-door sedan that's currently available on Craigslist. And let me tell you, this one is a rare find indeed. First off, can we talk about how cool that bullet-nose design is? It's a real head-turner, and it's something you don't see every day. This particular Champion is unrestored, which means it's got all the original charm and character that you'd expect from a car that's over 70 years old. Under the hood, you'll find a 6-cylinder inline engine that's paired with a standard transmission. And with only 67,165 miles on the odometer, this car has plenty of life left in it. Now let's talk about the condition of this classic Studebaker. The seller describes it as being in good condition, and from the pictures, it's easy to see why. The windshield is in good shape, and the older light cream yellow paint is still looking pretty sharp. The trunk and frame are both solid, although there is some rust on the lower inner trunk lid. But perhaps the best part about this Champion is that it was a regular driver when it was parked. That means it's been well maintained over the years, and it's ready to hit the road again with a little bit of TLC. The seller mentions that it needs tires and some restoration work, but that's to be expected with a car of this age. And let's not forget about the fact that this car has been protected under a carport and a car tarp, and is now being stored in an underground, well-ventilated garage. That's the kind of care and attention that you want to see when you're buying a classic car. Now, I know what you might be thinking. $10,150 is a lot of money for a car that needs some work. But hear me out. This Studebaker Champion is a rare find, and it's got all the original charm and character that you'd expect from a car of this era. Plus, with a little bit of restoration work, it could be a real showstopper. Of course, as with any classic car, there are bound to be a few issues here and there. The seller doesn't mention any specific problems beyond the need for tires and restoration work. But it's always a good idea to give any potential purchase a thorough inspection before handing over your hard-earned cash. But if you're in the market for a rare and beautiful classic car that's got a ton of potential, this 1951 Studebaker Champion might just be the one for you. It's a car that's sure to turn heads wherever it goes, and with a little bit of love and attention, it could be a real gem. 16. We've got a real gem for you. A 1951 Chevrolet Style Line Business Coupe that's currently up for grabs on Craigslist. And let me tell you, this one is a rare find indeed. First off, can we talk about how cool it is to see a Style Line Business Coupe in the wild? These cars were designed with the working man in mind, and they're not something you see every day. This particular example is a two-door model with a 3-on-the-tree manual transmission, which just adds to its vintage charm. Under the hood, you'll find the original 216.5 cubic inch inline-6 engine. The seller mentions that it runs, which is always a good sign for a car that's over 70 years old. Now let's talk about the condition of this classic Chevy. The seller doesn't provide a ton of details in the ad, so it's hard to say exactly what kind of shape it's in. There are no mentions of any major rust or damage, but as with any car of this age, it's safe to assume that it's going to need some work to get it back to its former glory. But that's part of the fun of owning a classic car, isn't it? Taking something that's been around for decades and breathing new life into it. With a little bit of elbow grease and some TLC, this style line could be a real head-turner. Of course, it's always a good idea to give any potential purchase a thorough inspection before handing over your hard-earned cash. And with a car like this, it's especially important to make sure that everything is in working order and that there are no major issues lurking beneath the surface. But if you're up for a project and you're looking for a rare and beautiful classic car to add to your collection, this 1951 Chevrolet Style Line Business Coupe might just be the one for you. It's got all the vintage charm and character that you'd expect from a car of this era, and with a little bit of work, it could be a real showstopper. And let's not forget about the price. At $12,000, this style line is priced to sell. Sure, it's not cheap, but when you consider the rarity of this particular model and the potential it has with some restoration work, it's actually a pretty good deal. 17. We're checking out this fascinating piece of American automotive history, a 1964 Mercury Monterey Breezeway that's currently up for grabs at $7,500. Let me tell you, this isn't just any old car. It's one of those unique models with that super cool reverse slant rear window that Ford called the Breezeway. Under the hood, you're getting that mighty 390 cubic inch V8 paired with an automatic transmission, which was quite the powerhouse for its time. With 79 and 300 miles on the clock, that's actually pretty reasonable for a car pushing 60 years old. The black paint gives it that classic, dignified look that these big American cruisers wear so well. Now I've got to keep it real with you. The seller mentions it needs some love, which is pretty typical for a car of this age. But here's what's promising. It's just had fresh maintenance work done, including an oil change, tire rotation, coolant flush, and new spark plugs. Plus, it's got factory AC, which is a pretty sweet feature for a 64. What really catches my attention is that this is a Breezeway model. That distinctive rear window design was Mercury's calling card, and it makes this car stand out from your typical classics. The seller mentions it's an absolute joy to drive on the highway, and I can totally imagine that floating on air feeling these full-size luxury cars were famous for. At $7,500, considering today's classic car market, you're looking at an interesting piece of Mercury history that still has plenty of presence on the road. Just remember, like any 60-year-old car, you'll need to embrace some old-school car maintenance and TLC, but that's part of the classic car experience, right? Buick 18. We're looking at something pretty interesting, a 1985 Chrysler LeBaron convertible that's asking $9,000. You know, these LeBarons have a special place in automotive history, and this one's got some stories to tell with just 73,155 miles on the clock. Let's be real here, $9,000 is a pretty ambitious asking price for an '85 LeBaron, even with those low miles. These were the cars that helped save Chrysler in the 1980s, rocking that classic K-car platform with the four-cylinder engine and automatic transmission. The convertible top was a pretty big deal back then. It was one of the first American convertibles to make a comeback after they practically disappeared in the 70s. What's cool about this one is the mileage. 73K is surprisingly low for a car pushing 40 years old. The seller listed in good condition, which is promising. Though at this age, you'll want to check the usual suspects: convertible top condition, any potential rust spots, and how well that four-cylinder is running. These LeBarons are starting to gain some nostalgic appeal. They're totally 80s, from the digital dash, if it's still working, to those squared-off body lines. It's the kind of car that'll get you some knowing nods at car shows, especially from folks who remember when these were everywhere. Just keep in mind, while it might be in good condition, you're still dealing with 1980s Chrysler electronics and mechanics. Parts aren't impossible to find, but they're not exactly sitting on every auto parts store shelf either. At $9,000, you're paying for preservation and nostalgia more than performance. But hey, if you're looking for a slice of 80s automotive Americana, this could be your ticket to ride. 19. We're diving into something really special. A 1971 Ford Thunderbird with the rare Brougham package, listed at $7,500. And get this, it's showing just 14,000 miles, though we might want to verify if that's original or if it's rolled over. Let me be completely straight with you about this big, beautiful bird. The good stuff first, you're getting that monster 429 Thunderjet V8, upgraded with a Holly carb and Flowmaster exhaust. That's some serious muscle. The green paint and that unique gator skin vinyl top are reportedly in excellent shape, which is pretty rare for a 50-year-old car. Plus, those original hopsack cloth seats and the Brougham package make this a pretty special find. Now, let's talk about the challenges, because there are quite a few. The electrical system is basically having a party of its own. Flickering dash lights, temperamental turn signals, high beams that turn your car into a light show, and power windows that have decided to retire. The front bumper's got a cut in it, and there's a missing rear valance. Inside, you're looking at some dashboard cracks and a headliner that's seen better days. But here's the thing. The seller's been upfront about the mechanical work with receipts to back it up, and they mention there's no major rust, which is huge for these old Fords. The new Hankook tires are a nice touch too. At $7,500, you're looking at a project but not a basket case. This is one of those cars that could be absolutely stunning with some electrical work and cosmetic touch-ups. These 71 T-Birds, especially with the Brougham package, are getting harder to find, and that 429 engine is worth its weight in gold when properly sorted. If you're handy with a multimeter and don't mind spending some quality time with an electrical diagram, this could be a really rewarding project. Just make sure you factor in the cost of sorting out those electrical gremlins and replacing those bumper pieces when considering the asking price. 20. We're checking out a 1977 Chevy Corvette that's up for grabs at $13,000. This is from the C3 generation, and let me tell you, this one's got some interesting things going for it. First off, let's talk about what's been done to this car, and it's quite a list. The seller has basically rebuilt a lot of the crucial components. We're looking at fresh brakes, rotors, and hubs, which is great because C3 Corvettes are known for brake issues. They've dropped in a new transmission. That's a big-ticket item right there. And the engine's gotten some love with a new intake, carb, and gaskets. The suspension's been refreshed with new bushings, and it's rolling on new wheels and tires. At 114,000 miles, this C3 has seen its share of road time. But here's what's really important. It's California legal and will pass smog, which is huge for a classic car in CA. The T-tops are a classic Corvette feature that everyone loves. And when they're working right, there's nothing better than open-top cruising. The white paint gives it that classic look. And while the 77 wasn't the most powerful Corvette year, thanks emissions regulations, these cars are still absolute head-turners. The dual exhaust is wrapped to help with heat management, which shows some thoughtful upgrading. At $13,000, you're getting a C3 Corvette that's had a lot of the major mechanical work already done. These cars are climbing in value, especially well-sorted ones. Just remember, it's still a 46-year-old car, so expect some classic car quirks. But that's part of the charm with these C3 Vettes. For someone looking to get into classic Corvette ownership, this could be a solid entry point, especially with all the recent mechanical updates. Just make sure to check those T-top seals and the usual C3 trouble spots during inspection.